Welcome, Power fans. We are back with an amazing episode two, Need versus Greed. Let's get started with the ending. The big reveal, probably the greatest thing Kane has done so far. He figured out that Lorenzo was the one that killed Zeke. Great detective work. Didn't think he was capable of it. He did it in classic Kane fashion. A little bit of torture, a little bit of interrogation, a little bit of murder too, but he figured everything out. By torturing Mecha's pilot, he was able to find out that the person that did the murder on Zeke had a bald head, had a broken tail light. We know that Lorenzo had a broken tail light. And then the second connection was Lorenzo's face when that Guap soldier revealed that he had been paid to beat up Drew. So he put it all together in perfect fashion, laid it out for Lorenzo, and this is payback now. Remember in was it season two or maybe even season one when Lorenzo was still locked up, he had Kane humiliated and beat up in front of him when he went to visit him in prison. Things like that are not moments that Kane is going to forget someone like him. To be brutalized like that, I feel like that was the moment that the love that he had for his father completely evaporated. And he was always waiting for that moment to get back in him. He tried to make inroads by trying to show him that I'm the one that can take the throne, just trust in me. And it wasn't just that he was rebuffed, it was the way that Lorenzo would rebuff him. He would completely dress him down every single time, Kane tried to show him that, I can be the leader of his family. So he no longer has any love for Lorenzo, and he's going to savor this moment. We're going to see how long it's going to last. Is it going to last the entire season? We don't know. But for now, like he told them, I own you. You're going to move my weight and you're going to do everything I say. The only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of pause, though, is that Kane, at his very nature, is reckless and impulsive. And those are things that are going to work against you when you're trying to be the leader, of a criminal organization. So I'm wondering how long he's going to be able to hold the crown and do it efficiently. And number two, if he's going to hold the crown like that, I'm assuming Lorenzo is going to have to give his blessing to the rest of the family, meaning telling, Drew and everyone else that, listen, whatever Kane says goes. So I'm wondering how long they're going to look at that before they start fishing around and wondering why all of a sudden Kane is the leader. So this is going to be very interesting to watch. But for right now, Kane played the perfect checkmate move. Lorenzo was completely neutered. It was kind of pitiful to see him kind of begging around like that. Remember, he seemed like such a strong character when he was in prison. Now he just looks like a clown. So he's been completely dressed down. So we'll see where that goes. But very, very interesting to see Kane's journey now that he's the quote unquote so-called leader of the family. The next biggest thing that caught my attention is the dynamics that are going on between Brayden, Tariq, and Effie. For someone that I thought was so treacherous, talking about Tariq, he's the only kind of innocent one in this. He has complete trust in Brayden and Effie, and they're the ones that are doing all this stuff behind his back. Number one, Brayden, we found out, is the one that cost him his internship with Tate by paying off Tate to put Brew into the internship position, all because he wanted to maneuver Tariq to Weston Holdings so they can eventually start selling drugs there. So that's a big betrayal because one thing that we noticed that Tariq told him at the beginning of the episode, and it was some really good social commentary that we don't always see with Power. He mentioned to Brayden, like, look, I don't get that many chances. I messed up one time and I got kicked out of school or kicked off campus. I'm a social pariah now. I'm not like you. You're a white man, you can fail up. You got caught literally selling drugs and you got rewarded with an internship at a multi-million or billion-dollar company. I'm not going to get that type of opportunity. And it seemed like Brayden realized that to a degree. I was trying to give him a little bit of bail because when he got Tariq the internship at Weston Holdings, he actually went to bat for him. He fought for him in front of his father, and that's what you want with a true ally, right? Someone that's willing to get in the trenches with you. And he basically told his dad that, look, you're blaming Tariq for stuff that I did. You can't hold that against him. But all that kind of just falls by the wayside by knowing that Tariq would not be in this position if it wasn't for Brayden. So whenever Tariq finds that out, it's going to be a big hit to his trust of Brayden. And I think in true power fashion, he's probably going to find out about the betrayals from both Brayden and Effie at the same time. So it's going to really hit him that he can't trust anybody. On Effie's end, her big betrayal is Lauren, of course, quote unquote killing Lauren. But this other thing that she has going on with her new app, the Course Perfect. I mean, because you have picked a better name that wasn't just so similar to what you guys did before, but whatever. She hasn't pulled the trigger on it yet, but we see that's where she's going. And I guess in her mind, she's looking at it the same way Tariq was looking at it with Brayden. Like, I don't have the money that you guys got. I don't have the profile. So I have to make this work as far as getting this money for school. If it doesn't work for me, I have no other option. So I think she's still trying to protect herself. And that's how she's going to try and rationalize it in her mind, just lying to Tariq about the Course Perfect whenever that does go live. And another thing, Kane is still sniffing around trying to get Effie on his team. So if there becomes any type of rift between them, I can see her going to him to try and make sure Course Perfect, gets completely off the ground. So we'll see where that goes with Effie and Tariq. But as of right now, Tariq doesn't really have the family that he thinks he has. And, it's funny to see him so naive because the first rule of family that you should always realize is that families have secrets and keep secrets. So he's in for a doozy by the time we get to, I would say, probably about mid-season. All this is going to come crashing out. Now let's look at Lauren. The big reveal in the season premiere is that Lauren is still alive, and now we get the backstory on what happened. So Effie did knock her out, put her in the car, put her in the trunk, and put the car into the lake, presumably for her to drown. But surprise, surprise, there happened to be a pedestrian walking by, and Effie didn't stay to see the car go completely in the lake. So the pedestrian calls the police, and somehow the police get there in time before Lauren drowns. Very good timing. Maybe it's a small town and the cops are right by, but that was very convenient. So Lauren's awake. She doesn't have amnesia. She remembers that Effie was the one that, knocked her out. But Jenny is telling her, I can't let you go until I get evidence that, Effie was the one. I need a smoking gun. I can't just get your, take on it because you were knocked out and that's not conclusive evidence. Lauren's stance is that every time I've worked with you guys, my life has gotten worse. I've gotten more tied up in all this nonsense. So she's going to be looking for a way out, and we don't know what that way is yet because Jenny is not allowing her to call home, let anybody know she's still alive. She's in complete isolation. So how is she going to get out of this? The only thing I can think of with all this snooping around that Saxe is doing, between him and Jenny, they have this parasitic relationship. Eventually, she's going to have it slip some type of way that Lauren is still alive. And that is going to be some type of evidence that Saxe is going to use to do God knows what. But I think that's the pathway to Lauren getting out of the situation and getting back to civilization and letting her family know she's still alive. Speaking of that relationship with Jenny and Saxe, it's really hard to say who has the upper hand. Jenny has the information that Saxe needs about Davis's brother Theo, which he's not giving up yet. Saxe seems to be giving more information at this point. He let it drop that Detective Whitman was the one that's been outside Mecca's apartment. Jenny was able to make that connection, and through them, talking, he was able to establish with her that you're looking at Tariq too heavy. It's really Monet that's the head of the crime family. That might not be completely true per se. I think, Tariq is still the engine that's making everything move literally by moving all this weight. But still, Monet is the most dangerous one. We see how everybody cowers when it comes to her. Just the fact when Kane was saying, I'm gonna tell Monet about what really happened to Zeke. Lorenzo was like cowering, like, please don't, so her vengeance is like the number one muscle of this, RICO if it does happen. But we'll see where it goes with that. But with Saxe and Jenny, I just can't really call that yet. I feel like they're almost going to, I know Saxe some type of way is going to end up destroying her RICO. She's relying on him a little too much. And he's compromised all over the place. He's getting evidence on Saxe. I mean, evidence on Davis. He made a connection through Davis's cell phone about him having a relationship with Monet. And when he gets into this Theo stuff, who knows what he's going to find out. We haven't gotten too much backstory on that. We just know that he's locked up for something that he likely didn't do. So whatever information he's able to get from that can possibly get Theo out of jail, maybe he uses that as leverage against Davis to get more information for Jenny. But Sax, he's a survivor. So whatever he does, I'm really not worried about him not surviving. He just knows how to weasel his way out of everything. So out of those three, the one I would be concerned the most with is Davis, because he still has the issue with pointing that ring from Noma. So Noma's going to come for him eventually. And then we know Monet doesn't like anyone. So if she feels like she's getting caught up in something, she probably wouldn't have no problems killing Davis. She's that wild, as we can see. Speaking of vengeance and Monet's vengeance, she, as of the moment, thinks she's avenged, Zeke's murder. She killed the international guap person who was the patsy that Lorenzo put in place to try and throw the trail off of what he did and to try and give Monet some closure, because she still holds him responsible for Zeke's death, not knowing that he's literally the one that killed Zeke. So Lorenzo's in a very bad spot at this point. And I was thinking about how is this going to get resolved? How is he going to get revenge or try and get his spot back in the family? As of right now, he almost can't do anything. And I thought about, would he be bold enough to try and kill Kane? Or would Kane, after a while, realize that having Lorenzo around is too dangerous and try and kill Lorenzo? I think that's not going to happen because that's kind of been overdone in the Power universe. We've already seen a father kill their son with what's my man's name? Kanan, when he killed his son way back in the original Power. And then we also have seen, a son kill his father, as we saw with Tariq and Ghost. So I don't see them doing that again. So is there some type of other way that Kane can get taken out of the picture, or Lorenzo? I can't see it at this point. Even if Lorenzo tried to go to Diana and get her help because she loves her daddy so much, I can't see her going against Kane to the point where she would get him killed. I just can't see that, because they're still, to me, relatively close. Even though I can see her believing her dad if he lays out that sob story about, I killed Kane by accident. I mean, I killed Zeke by accident. Even if she goes for that, I can't see her mobilizing completely against Kane. Drew is closer to his dad, but I think him and Kane are still relatively close too. So I can't see him going against Kane either, to the point of wanting to see him dead. So I don't know how that dynamic is going to go. The only thing I can see is that Kane being so reckless, he's going to bring some other heat down on the family from Noma or someone like that. And at that point, there has to be some type of diplomacy. And the only people that can really do that on the team would be probably Tariq. And if he doesn't go to Tariq, maybe it's something with Lorenzo. Because remember, I said in my recap of the premiere episode, I do think Lorenzo and Noma are going to fall for each other. Especially if Monet keeps pushing Lorenzo away, I can see him falling in Noma's lap. So maybe them two getting together somehow pushes Kane out of the way. But we shall see. I mentioned Diana earlier. So she has a job at the candy store now. Funny enough, she's still having this little growing relationship with Salim. Seems like a very pure guy, which means he should not be anywhere near Diana and her family, but he's going to find out the hard way. The most interesting thing that happened with Diana is actually that scene where Effie and Tariq came down there and she hid in the closet, like she didn't want to be seen by them. On one hand, I think seeing Tariq with her, I think she's self-conscious about that, even though, she doesn't want to be with Tariq. There's still kind of residual feelings there. And I feel like she's just not comfortable being in that type of subservient position, for a lack of a better word, even though she's not, technically a servant, being that she would have to still serve them, being that she's the worker there. I think she was a little self-conscious about that. And it seems like she was eavesdropping a little bit. I don't know if she was able to tell that they were doing drug business. That probably factors into it too. She's realizing that they're still moving weight and all that. And here I am in this position. I'm pretty sure that's having her feel some type of way too. But I think there's just residual feelings of seeing Tariq and Effie together, and her being in the position that she is in, struggling just to make ends meet and buy books, seeing them kind of balling and having no money problems. I just think that kind of just made her feel some type of way. Let's go over to Weston Holdings really quick. So I mentioned what Brayden did, of course, we're getting to reap the job there. But the other interesting thing is, Brayden has a love interest now. I told you what was up with Kiki. I knew eventually Brayden was going to get with her. I thought it would take a little bit longer, but Kiki doesn't waste any time. But she did say something that was very key that I think we should pay attention to. When they were about to get it on, she mentioned one thing that was significant. She was like, as long as you keep giving me money, I can make you happy. So whatever you think about her, she's letting you know from jump what it is. And you can always appreciate a lover that lets you know where you stand from the beginning. And she's letting Brayden know where she stands. If the money's straight, I'm tying my wagon to you. I think she feels like he's obviously the smartest one there and the most down to earth, Brayden compared to all the other trust fund babies there. So that's what's going to be the attraction. But I think she realizes that, with him being the legacy kid there, if I can get with him, I'm straight. She's trying to secure her future. But at the same time, by doing that, that also makes me think she's going to be down for that weight moving at Weston. So eventually there's going to be pillow talk, and Braden's going to let her know what is going on, how they're moving weight through all the channels and the networks through Weston Holdings. She's going to want in on that. And it's going to be interesting to see how Tariq takes that with another person knowing their business like that. So he might think that's too messy because already he really kind of didn't want to do that. But the greed kind of got to him, just knowing that they can move all that weight so quickly. And we only got to murder one person. So what's the big deal? So poor Nikki, the personal trainer. But as of right now, they don't have any problems as it comes to moving weight. As far as Nikki dying, let's talk about Drew, the person that killed him. Unfortunately, Drew, he got jumped, and that's set up by Lorenzo. So he missed Everett's big day, the biggest day of his life, which was his signing party. So Everett dumps him. And at that point, Drew has that Tejada anger. It just takes a lot for it to come out of him and that coldness. And it's like, what better way to rebound from a breakup than to commit cold-blooded murder? So that's where Drew is right now. I'm expecting him to be a lot more heartless going forward, unless some other love interest jumps in. But until then, I think he's at least going to be focused for, I don't know, a couple episodes at the very least. So I think that kind of wraps up everybody. I did want to mention we didn't see any Noma. I was kind of sad about that. I hope she's not just like in the background the entire season because I think she's a very strong character. But we did see her right hand man Obi, and I guess Obi's little trademark is going to be dissing Americans every time he comes on screen. But Tariq did say one important thing to him. It's like apparently she doesn't value your word too much because she's working with us, and that really kind of hit home for him because he immediately said to Tariq, I'm looking forward to killing you. So obviously we know that's not going to happen. So I think that's kind of some foreshadowing that we're going to have a confrontation between Tariq and Obi, and Tariq will handle business and get him out of the picture, or they're going to set him up some type of way where he looks crazy in front of Noma, and she's going to pull out that machete again and do what needs to be done. But a very good second episode. Tariq, I'm not Tariq, Kane was a big, big moment at the end. We're going to see how that dynamic does between Kane and Lorenzo going forward. And we're going to see how Lorenzo carries the crown. How long is he going to carry the crown? Is it just going to be bodies dropping constantly, or is he going to be able to have the diplomacy to make everything continually work with Noma and continually work with Tariq as well? Because everything should be smooth going forward if Lorenzo fades into the background, but I just don't see that happening. So let me know what you guys think. Your favorite character from this episode. Do you feel Effie's wrong for doing this course perfect route, or do you feel she needs to get that bag for herself? Are you still cool with Brayden, or do you think Brayden was foul for what he did? And do you think Tariq needs to cut them off when he finds out, the betrayals on both their ends? All right, so looking forward to getting your feedback. And of course, with episode 3, we'll be recapping that right after midnight next Friday, and we'll be doing that the entire season. So feel free to check back here and like and subscribe for recaps throughout the season of Power Book 2. Talk to you soon.